Hello, Rob Ainscough here. I thought I'd go over a couple of power supplies today. A lot of questions come up on AVSim and other places on what the differences are between power supplies. So I have a 750 EVGA power supply over here, 750 watt. And then I have another EVGA 1200 watt P2 power supply over here. And let's just quickly go over some of the components to this. These green coil wired magnets are essentially inductors, or often called chokes. And what they do is they help smooth out the input voltage. These yellow things are usually capacitors, and same over here, capacitors. As you can see, on the 750 watt, these are smaller, and on the 1200 watt, they are bigger. And that's again just to smooth out the input voltage. So on the 750 here, we have, it looks like, some bridge rectifiers. We've got two sets with their heat sinks. On the 1200 watt unit, we actually have 3 heat sinks. These capacitors store the current. They're sort of like a big battery, but a short-term battery. In the 750 watt, like I said, we have one. In the 1200 watt, we have 2 of these large capacitors that will help with transient response and making sure that the voltage is more stable. Okay, so these are the transformers. This is a 750 watt transformer, and this is the 1200 watt transformer. The 1200 watt unit is a little bit bigger than the 750 watt transformer. It's a little bit smaller. There are other transformers in here as well to work with the 5 volt and 3.3 volt. The big one will be most likely the 12 volt, and what it will do is it'll convert the AC. Transformers can only work on alternating current, so it will take the alternating current and then it'll bring that down from 110 volts to 12 volts. That's what the large one is likely to be doing. And then, or if you're in the UK, it'll bring you down from 220 volts to 12 volts DC. Actually 12 volts output, and then it'll get converted back to DC. So that's what transformers do. And basically, the larger the transformer, the better. They do present most of the weight for the unit, just because of the way they're manufactured, tightly bound coils around magnets. So these will be the digital to analog converters, these 2 circuits here. They look, in my opinion, identical from the 750 to the 1200. All power supplies are going to have some form of pulse width modulation circuitry in them to deal with the incoming power, which operates in the UK, I believe it operates at about 50 hertz. In the US, operates at 60 hertz. So there'll need to be some sort of processing, and that'll be done in the pulse width modulation circuitry, which will be in here somewhere. I don't know exactly where, so that's just kind of a quick overview of these power supplies. As you can see, both EVGA units use a ball bearing fan. Same over here, ball bearing fan, which is my preferred fan because they tend to last longer. The obvious differences are primarily you've got different size capacitors. You got larger ones in the 1200 unit versus a 750 unit. The transformers is larger in the 1200 unit versus the 750 unit. And you've got a few more bridge rectifiers and heat sinks. And it looks like the AC to DC conversion, though, is very similar, which is a good thing. That's where you want to try and control what they call ripple. The ultimate world is the least amount of ripple. The ripple happens when you have changes in voltage, either quick changes or slow changes. You want to be able to deal with keeping the output voltage as consistent as possible. So that's it. These are the two power supplies. I don't actually have my scope hooked up to any of them right now because I just wanted to show you the differences between them, and what is the difference between a 750 and a 1200 watt. Again, these are both EVGAs, which is my preferred brand, only because I know what kind of components are in them. And like I said, if you need to get spare components, I got plenty of those too here. I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is actually something that wouldn't work in a power supply. It's designed really for audio circuitry. This is a 10,000U 80 watt capacitor. It actually came with a warning sign because capacitors store energy. So what you want to do is, that's why whenever you turn off the circuitry, you want to wait a couple of minutes for all the capacitors to drain their energy, so you're not left with a shock or damage your components. So that's the reason behind waiting a few minutes once you power something down before powering it back up. You just want everything to drain from the capacitors. They're all kind of different size capacitors too. There's other ones over here that I've got that you can use. This is a 4700U, 63 volt. The ones being used in the EVGAs are 400 volts to 650U. Two of them in the 1200 unit, one of them in the 750 unit.